What you are shouts so loudly in my ears, I cannot hear what you say. Ralph Waldo Emerson. To the ignorant, even the words of the wise seem foolish. Isaiah. Wise men learn more from fools than fools from wise men. Marcus Aurelius Cato. Isn't the hero's journey fun, my friends? When we have to deal with the ignorant masses and the arrogant rulers, how do we deal with it? How do we cope with it? It's simple, my friends. We learn when we share our message. Every time you share the message and you see it not go over with certain people, you learn from that. You learn to tweak the message. I tweak my message so many times. I actually have dozens and dozens and dozens of ways I say things based upon the people I encounter. And how did that happen? Because we learn from these people. We learn what works, what doesn't work. My gosh, I used to go to Memorial Park twice a day and bounce my ideas off different people just to try to get a reaction from them. Can't bring myself to do that anymore because we had a major heat wave quite a few years back, half a dozen years ago, and lost about half the forest, half the trees. It's devastating. The place doesn't even look the same. But it was a great opportunity to bounce my ideas off people because in 1 hour, about 10,000 people would go by in one area. Of course, I learned very quickly, it's always best to break a barrier between people. You know, anytime two people meet each other for the first time, there's sort of a barrier or a boundary that we set up with one another. That's why they say in a sales presentation, the first 5 minutes is the most important. Because you got to break that barrier, you got to make a friend. No one's going to buy something from someone they don't like or know. So if you're dealing with people you know, that's a different story. But if you find someone out walking one day, don't start off the conversation with this. Get to know them first, break that barrier, try to find something that they like and are interested in that you might know something about so you can establish a friendship with them. And if you know more about it, it's even better because then you can establish some credibility. So, life is a learning process. It's a learning process for us. When we try to make better choices, we all have to learn learn how to do it our own way. And for some of us, we got to keep going back and banging our head. It took me a lot of times banging my head up against the wall before I finally realized I'm tired of banging my head up against the wall. And we're all unique that way. Especially when it comes to making such a major change and breaking away from the herd mentality and live a whole different way. But I can guarantee you, my friends, most people are going the wrong direction. And anytime you go the other direction they are, you're usually better off. I don't care if that's rush hour traffic or it's how they eat. But remember, coming out of Plato's cave, you got to go back down. There's no escaping Plato's cave, this cave of ignorance that we all live in. Those of us who find a raw vegan diet, we escape the cave. We realize there's paradise outside our cave. Got to go back down into the cave and tell my friends and family. And what happens when you tell them that? What happens when you tell them to look back into the fire? They yell at you and scream at you and say, "What the hell's wrong with you? Why are you making my eyes hurt by looking at the truth?" I don't want to entertain that idea. So it's really difficult with the ones you know. But that still doesn't mean you don't want to keep going down there and try to figure out a way to make them understand this. And we're all different, we're all unique, we all appeal to different people. Someone made this comment the other day on my comment section, and of course I said it before. Everyone appeals to different people, so it's real important that we all get out there and try to appeal to the type of people that will be attracted to our message and our personality, our persona. And don't get discouraged. Remember, this is a numbers game. You learn every time you go out there and you try to tell the message. I've been doing this for 27 years. I'm just as passionate today as I was in the beginning because I understood its implications from the very start. I know what it can do for us individually. I know what it can do for us collectively. But we have to accept the fact that the masses of people are woefully ignorant in these areas. And it's an area most people don't want to entertain. So if you're on the hero's journey and you've given up on your family and friends, plant some seeds in your brain. Remember how creativity works. We put ideas into our head and we let it incubate. And then all of a sudden one day you'll wake up and go, I know what to say to Betty. I know what might work. I was trying some ideas recently on some other people. So there's an idea right there. Use other people to experiment with ways that might work with your family. Say, hey, I wonder if I ran this by Joe. Well, before you run it by Joe, go out there and run it by a whole bunch of other people and let's see how it goes. That might be all it takes to give you the confidence to deliver it with confidence, and many times that's what it takes. I wish there was one simple message that everyone could tell to everybody. I've even labeled this as one of our problems of knowledge, that we lack the continuity within this movement to offer a unified message to the masses. If we could all get along and say, look, let's just say, let's not cook our food, let's not bicker over whether or not it's got to be fruits or vegetables or sprouts or whatever. That's defeating our purpose to correct the fall of mankind, because that's the only thing that matters. When it comes to telling the truth to people, folks, obviously there are a lot of different truths, right? Oh, we all have our own truth, John. Yeah, but remember we got two groups of needs. The truth I focus on the most is the fall of mankind, and that's what I'm talking about. Yeah, we all have our own individual truths because we all have our own individual damage. You see how that works? Reminds me of how the 3 stages of knowledge work. Remember, knowledge is acquired in the first stage, applied in the second, manifested in the third. But there are 3 stages on the right path where we have knowledge, good applications, satisfy our needs, and good results, paradise. Or we have false knowledge, we make mistakes, we don't satisfy our needs, and we end up in hell, the dark ages. We got all these problems. And what's interesting, and the point I'm trying to get here, is you might be talking to somebody, or 2 people might be talking, they're arguing with one another, and what one person might have would be the second and the third stage on the right path, and the other person might have the first stage on the wrong path, and they're both arguing with each other, saying, you're wrong, you're wrong, you're wrong. And they both don't realize that they're both wrong, because they're both in the same puzzle, but there's 3 pieces in the puzzle. So the same thing happens with this situation I just explained. It's real easy to not realize that you don't see the big picture. That's why you have to be skeptical. You have to question everything. You have to realize that there comes a point in our life, my friends, when you have to believe only your own experience. You have to test an idea whose time has come. We can use logic and clearly see that what the medical people is doing is wrong. But when it comes to what we need to do, it's difficult to provide the proof for people. So the best thing we can do is encourage them to just take 1 week out of their life. That's all I ask anybody. 1 week out of their life. In fact, here's an idea. Bet them. Say, I bet you $100 that in 1 week you'll still be pooping. 1 week you'll lose 7 pounds, 10 pounds. I guarantee you. And you think that would be enough to motivate people? The fact that most women don't have the symptoms of what most other women have during that time of month when they eat a raw food diet should be enough, you think, right there for a lot of women to say, I should give raw food a try. And you hear this all over. I've got a great file on menstruation. And it's full of testimonies from women that say, wow, I can really tell how much discomfort I'm going to have based on what I eat. And that's just so obvious. It's just so obvious. And yet you're going to get people who want to argue with you. Well, there's no sense in arguing with fools, my friends. And that's what we end up doing many times. You cannot win an argument with an ignorant person. It just doesn't work. And if only we can figure out some way for those fools to learn from us. There's only one way we can get them to do that, and that's to motivate them to test an idea as time has come. Tell them, guys, when you do it, you're in for a treat.